Good evening, folks. This is Patrick Tulloch dialing in from beautiful Toronto, Canada, and this is the Wednesday Night Leadership Overview call. And I'm really excited to be on this call here this evening to share with you a training that I received, I guess in a sense. It was something that came to me, a few words, looking from the inside out. And from that day, I realized that there was a message. There was a message that I had received that I needed to kind of put together, and that's what I've been able to do here this evening. And I think it really comes down to an introspective. It's about you. It's about looking from the inside out. And what you're going to be able to do from this training, and realize that you're going to go through a transition, and we all go through a transition, and the question is, how are you going to be able to go through that? And this is somewhat of a personal training for me, because it really comes down to a personal experience that I've gone through in this transitional process where, for the past 9 years, I've been able to get involved in a very exciting e-commerce global business model that I really didn't understand and I knew nothing about when I got started 9 years ago. But prior to that, I had an amazing experience where for 23 years I had run a traditional business. And, this is actually what I went through when I first got started. And this is kind of what I want to share with you. And the first thing is that, when you're looking at getting involved with a business or some new concept, there are certain things that you just don't know. And that's simply because you don't have the experience. And then there are things that you come to know, what you know. And what I want to do is I want to touch on both of those areas so that you can see for yourself that there's an evolution, there's a process. There are a number of events that you will go through to get to where you want to be. So if you're in that tunnel, you have that, myopic vision, but you can see a light at the end of the tunnel, then, that's where you want to go. But how does it all begin? And, when I started in my business of 23 years, I didn't know a whole lot. And I didn't have a whole lot of vision. I had some vision, but it was limited vision. And I kind of knew that there were certain things that I wanted to do. I knew where I didn't want to be, and therefore I needed to go forward. I needed to make a decision that I was going to do something that I had never done before, although I had limited vision. The next thing is I had limited skill sets. And, you can take your own personal situation, just think about when you got started with that new job, or think about when you got started with that new business, or think about the fact that you want to start a new business. You want to become an entrepreneur, and you're not sure what to do. Well, you know what? That's okay, because you may have limited skill sets. I know I had limited skill sets when I actually got started in my traditional business that lasted me 23 years. And then there was something else. I had limited knowledge. I didn't understand everything. I didn't have all the answers. In fact, I didn't have a mentor. I just went out on a limb, and I decided that I was going to take the chance, take that risk. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to turn back. I wasn't going to go back to traditional corporate. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to become that successful entrepreneur. Did I see myself being that successful entrepreneur on a few days out of the year? Yes, I did. But the more I worked at it, the more I developed myself, the more I became confident about the direction that I was headed. But when I got started, like most people, what do we have? We have limited knowledge. And this is because, again, we're looking from the inside out. Very, very important to realize that. And The other thing was belief. What kind of belief level did I have at the time? Well, I was excited. I was enthusiastic. My belief level increased every time I picked up a new account. That was pretty exciting. But I didn't have the utmost of belief in the world, but I knew that I was going in the right direction from the experiences that I was exposing myself to. One of the other things a lot of people will go through is fear of failure, fear, the acronym is false evidence appearing real. Fear of failure. What is that all about? It's, running a traditional business or running an e-commerce global business model, running a business where you can leverage yourself, create a passive income. You know what's going to happen? Somebody's going to come along and they're going to tell you that it does not work. Somebody who has no experience whatsoever is going to try to demotivate you. They're going to not encourage you to go ahead and follow your dreams and follow your goals. And they've never had any experience. They've never attempted to do anything for themselves. You're always going to find the naysayers out there that are going to put fear in you. And you know what? I never hung around with people who were negative. So thank God I never had the opportunity to have to listen to those individuals, tell me that it wouldn't work. I must admit, have a family member who once mentioned that maybe I should get a real job, but that didn't prevent me from, following my dreams and goals because I had made a decision of what I wanted. And, it wasn't always that I was absolutely comfortable with, everything that I was doing. There were times where I was very uncomfortable because, at the time I didn't have a mentor. And maybe you've gone through this same experience. So try and relate this to where you're at. You're very uncomfortable because you don't have somebody working with you. You don't have somebody encouraging you or motivating you. Well, maybe that's what you need to find. But you can be very uncomfortable. But even if you're on your own, you can still rise to the occasion. You can still feel a sense of achievement from every success that you experience along the way. And you have to build the blocks. You have to build on top of each experience. So these are things that you may not know, you may not be aware of. And that's what I went through when I got started in my business of 23 years traditional business. And actually in my new business, there were things that I did not know. And that's been for the past 9 years. But there was a secret, there was a key to how you can overcome any concerns or uncomfortable feelings that you may have about the experience that you're actually looking at pursuing. So the thing that was beneficial over time, not overnight, remember this is a process, it's not an event, is that what did I learn? I learned how to service my customer base. I learned how to develop new business. I learned how to relate with my staff and my employees, etc. So I became very familiar with that process, and I was able to do that on a regular basis, consistent basis, and I was pretty good at it for 23 years until I decided to leave the industry. So what are you familiar with today? So think about when you got started and where you are today, that you went through a process. You went from being uncomfortable to being comfortable, which actually is one of the points here. But you are doing things on a regular basis, repetition. And what does repetition lead to? Well, it's the mother of skill. It's the mother of learning. Repetition can become very unconscious. You don't even have to think about it after a period of time. It's just something that you do very naturally, and that's one of the things that I was able to do, and that is what you have the ability to do today. That's probably what you're doing in whatever area of life that you're involved with. Whether it's business, whether it's family, you're probably very good at what you do. You're probably very consistent, and maybe you just want to get better at it. So what do you have to do? You've got to do it consistently. You've got to be consistent, and you've got to be persistent. These are the things that you know that are going to get you the results that you're looking for. And again, because you're familiar with it, you're going to become better and better. Eventually, you'll become somebody who can teach others how to do exactly the same thing. So as I mentioned a few minutes earlier, one of the keys is that you become very uncomfortable. And this is an ongoing process in life. You know, you become uncomfortable, you figure out how it works, you can do it on a consistent basis, you become very comfortable with the process, and then all of a sudden you've got to stretch your skin. You got to become uncomfortable again so that you can get to the next level. So it's an ongoing process. But the beautiful thing is, if you know the end result, then there's no reason for you not to carry on. You know, it's like probability. You know if you go up to bat 10 times and you're going to, hit the ball 3 out of the 10 times. So your average is going to be 300. So you're just consistent. You're doing it over and over and over again. And then the beautiful thing is that your belief level goes up. It goes through the roof, because there is nobody that can come and tell you that it doesn't work, that it's not possible. I've never seen it done before. There's many people who have actually gone through that process, and they've been told by friends, by family, by competition that it won't work, it can't be done. But you know what? When you have a belief level, when you're working on yourself, because really, looking from the inside out really is an evolution of personal development. It's about working on yourself harder than anything else, harder than your job, harder than your business, because personal development will make you a much stronger person. So your belief goes through the roof. Years of practice obviously makes a huge difference, because, you become the expert. You become the go-to person. If people want to know how something gets done, guess where they're going to go? They're going to go to you, because they know you've gone through the process. They know that you've walked the walk and you've talked the talk. You see, after 23 years of running a traditional business, I figured it out. And I also figured out something else. I figured out that I wanted to change. Over the last 5 years of running a business, I got to a point, maybe that's where you are also. You're trying to say, do I want to be here for the next 5, 10, 15 years? Every time I asked myself that question, the answer was no. So I had to do some research, and I had to figure some things out. I had to determine what it was that I wanted to do. So, when you make that decision, you're still, again, you're going back to square one. You're going to be looking from the inside out. So what I needed to do in my life was I needed to find the outside factor. This is who I refer to as somebody who is able to look from the outside in. Somebody who has the experience. You see, I was the outside factor in my traditional business after 23 years. I was able, or I could, help somebody else get started in the industry that I was in. I could tell them what they needed to do. I could tell them, what kind of software they needed to purchase. I knew everything about my business. But you see, as I decided to transition, I had no idea. I was again back at square one, looking from the outside in. And so one of the things that I realized, and this, again, was just something that was manifested, a thought that came to me that, I need to share this message, because you can help somebody understand where they're at and where they need to be and how to get there at the same time, because you're the outside factor. You have the experience. You, as an individual, as I mentioned, have the experience. You've accumulated that wealth of knowledge, and now you can begin to share that. And this is what I was able to do when I started my business 9 years ago. I was able to find an individual a gentleman who was extremely successful, a multimillionaire in the industry, and he was able to help me get to where I needed to be because he became a mentor. You know, mentorship is so important in whatever you decide to do, because a mentor will tell you what to do. He'll tell you how to do it. He'll tell you why to do it. He'll work with you very closely, one-on-one, to help you understand the dynamics of what it takes to become a successful entrepreneur. And I was a rookie. I was green, but I had a desire. I had a burning desire that said to me, hey, if I do this, I'll never have to worry about legal issues, overhead, staffing ever again. I won't have to worry about rush hour traffic. I'll be able to work from home. So experience was important. Mentorship was important, and obviously a support system. You know, I know there's a lot of people who are in business today who have just gotten started in a business, and, you know, they've been given every reason why they should get started in the business. They're told what they want to hear, basically, not what they need to hear. And then when they get started, there's no more support. The support disappears. Well, you need to make sure that if you're looking at getting involved in a business today, you've got to make sure that the outside factor has some credibility, that the individual has been involved in their business for X number of years, that they haven't jumped around from one company or business to the other, that they've got a track record, and that's extremely important. So that's what I was able to do. And, you know, if you're on this call, you have the ability to turn it inside out. You have the ability to turn it inside out. In other words, you know, you can start to see the bigger picture. You know, do you see what I see? Rather than that narrow tunnel with the light at the end of the tunnel, now you're able to start to see what you did not see before. You're being exposed. You're being educated. You're increasing your knowledge. You're increasing your personal development. You're increasing who you are as a being. And this is ever so important because, you know, sometimes we worry about what we don't know, and what we need to do is go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you will be able and you will know what to do. You'll know what to do. And, you know, the beautiful thing is if you have somebody who you can call the outside factor, you can, you know, find that mentor, that support person, the person with the experience, they'll be able to guide you. That's what, working together as a team or in a team concept is all about. It's about the support system, and it's about helping you to be able to have the vision that you need to become successful in whatever it is that you desire to do in life. And that's extremely, extremely important. So when you, again, make that commitment, you begin to see more. Your vision improves. You're able to see the dreams and the goals, the aspirations that you set out for yourself, the new home. Is that something that might be important to you? I don't know, because your dreams and goals may be entirely different than mine. But you increase your understanding of what it is you want, and you know what you want, and you're going to learn how to be able to get it. Whether it's that beautiful automobile that you've been dreaming about, you know, before you were never looking at it. You were never thinking about it because you were looking from the inside out. So you need to change the way you're positioning yourself. You know, what about your kids? What kind of an education do you want to be able to provide them with? You know, it's all about your dreams and your goals, folks. You know, as we get on in life, we begin to, put those things aside because we're so preoccupied with working that 9-to-5 job and just making ends meet. Well, when you start to look at life a little bit differently and you start to transition, then you can begin to see what else is available to you. And again, shopping. I know a lot of people like to shop. Women love to shop. Men love to shop too. But when was the last time that you were able to go out on a shopping spree and just have some fun without worrying about the cost of, the shoes or the shirts or the dresses and the suit itself? I mean, it's time to make a change. It's time to be able to plan that trip, to travel to somewhere that you've never been before, because you have the ability to be able to do that for yourself. Now, we're winding down here. This is a pretty straightforward training about looking from the inside out. But what's really, really important is that, again, you want to make sure that you find the outside factor, and then you'll become the outside factor. Looking from the outside in rather than the inside out. We live in a global economy. There are no limitations anymore. One of the things that I am so grateful for is that I've gone from looking from the outside, from the inside out, to now looking from the outside in. I consider myself to be the outside factor. And you can do exactly the same thing. You can become the outside factor. What does it take? It takes your time. There are 24 hours in a day, and all you have to do is begin to plan. They say if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So my name is Patrick Tulloch. Really excited to be here with you this evening. This is looking from the inside out and now becoming the outside factor. Good night, folks.